Our next guest, Columbus High School basketball coach Joe Konieczny, stopping by to talk about Dons basketball. Coach, welcome to our program, and thanks for coming by this evening.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And to tell us about the start of your season, what things look like for the Dons this season.
Well, we have a very experienced group coming back, 9 seniors. They've been in the program for a lot of years, and they've really embraced a lot of the things we want to do. And really, as people, couldn't ask for more from a leadership effort standpoint. Emmett Konieczny, Blake Jacoby, Charlie Moore, Lucas Krecklau, Cy Becker, Alex Edwards, Nathan Nemitz, Cal Burkhauser, and Cole Hilgeman. So those 9 have really kind of taken the leadership role. I think they know it's their last go at it, and have really embraced just trying to get the most out of it that they can. And I'm very grateful for them. Along with them, we have a junior named Sam Dooms, who's a really nice athlete, has really bought into the defensive part of things and rebounding, setting screens. And then Matt Konieczny, a sophomore, has gotten minutes. Emmett's been out for the last 3 games with an injury, but we're hoping to get him back sometime this season. We're not sure when with the timetable, but I think we've won our last 3 without him. Some really nice wins in there at Auburndale and at Neillsville, which are always tough places to play. So, it's a work in progress like always, but I think we have a good group that could have a very good season.
What's it been like for you to have such an experienced group back with you this year?
Oh, it's great. They a lot of them played as sophomores. A number of them played huge roles last year. We lost Grant Olson, Isaac Moritz, Seamus Hoagland, 3 seniors. Grant had a really large role. But we have 2 or 3 nice athletes, Cy Becker, Alex Edwards, that have really been able to replace what he did from a basketball standpoint. From a leadership standpoint, we're still getting there because he was a really good leader. But the experience is always nice. I think what Bob Knight said, the best thing about juniors is they become seniors or something like that. And anytime you got that experience, it's definitely an advantage.
Anything in particular that's impressed you so far with your ball club this year?
I think we're very unselfish. I think we have 4 or 5 guys that can score 10, 15, 20 points. I believe they've embraced it's better to have 5 guys at 12 a game than 1 guy at 25 a game. So I think the balance has been really nice. 3 or 4 different guys have led us in scoring, and just the willingness to make the extra pass and to let the guy that's making shots take more shots. Those things from a big picture perspective have really been nice to see.
We've talked about some of your ball players in the past. I do want to talk about a couple of them. I've always been very impressed with Blake Jacoby as a ball player, especially what he does for you on the defensive end. We know he can shoot the ball. He can score quite a bit. He does a great job offensively. But as that point man on your zone defense, what a great job he does. Tell us about the role that Blake has in your ball club this year.
Oh, he's just he's a joy to be around as a human being. And I mean that. He doesn't change. We tell our players, from 3 to 5 o'clock, we're going to ask you to act a certain way. You're going to be unselfish. You're going to have to give maximum effort. You're going to have all these qualities for us to succeed as a team. If we have to change you as a person at 3 o'clock, it's not going to work. And Blake's kind of a prime example of that. He's just an effort person in everything that he does. Today at practice, there's a loose ball, and we're in a competitive 5-on-5 drill. And he dives past 4 JV kids that get on the ball. And I stopped it and I said to those kids, I said, listen, who's the one of you that doesn't need to prove anything right now? It's Blake's going to play 30 minutes a game, and Blake's going to get to shoot the ball whenever he wants. And Blake doesn't have to worry about his role here. Yet he just dove past all of you to get on that ball when you should have been the ones doing that. And I think the young players see that type of effort. I wish he was a little bit more vocal. He's not a do what I say kind of kid. He just leads by example. And the example he sets for our younger players with his effort and unselfishness is just outstanding.
Another guy to talk about is Lucas Krecklau, because 20 years ago, we were saying, here's the Columbus High School post player, Lucas Krecklau, that's in the low block and be the big post guy. And of course, the game has changed so much that we don't have that too much anymore. But when you've got a guy with that kind of skills, how do you incorporate him in today's basketball?
Well, I think we've had to work on post passing more than we have in the past. Cole Hilgeman's another one that comes in to spell Lucas and has a nice role defensively for us. But we have to do a better job of getting him a post touch. And he's really good at getting the ball out of the post when he sees a double team or when a shooter becomes open. So he's also a very good rebounder. And he can finish with both hands. So, what Spencer game, I think he had 19 because we got him the ball. There's been a couple of games where we weren't as effective at getting him a touch before we shot an open 3. And when we go through him, it's definitely a nice asset to have.
How about the way the club looks defensively this year?
I think I love our effort. We have to be a little bit more disciplined at times, so leaving our feet in transition and getting behind the ball a few too many times on film. But from a rebounding standpoint, from a getting in front and helping and taking charges standpoint, we got some young men that have really bought in. And I think part of that is that's how they know they're going to get on the floor. If you're going to apply for a job at a company, there's got to be an opening. And we tell a kid like Sam Dooms or a kid like Alex or a kid like Mac, the shooting positions in this company are filled. So we're not looking for more of those. If you want to work here at this establishment, you're going to have to play defense and rebound. And then maybe those positions will open in the future for you. But I think part of that is they know how that's how they can get some time. So they've really bought in.
It strikes me that if you went to other schools in the area and you had a guy like Sam Dooms, say, or some other guys on your roster, there's a good chance that they'd be getting a lot of playing time as a sophomore, starting as a sophomore at some places, and now here in their junior year, they're playing a little bit. Maybe as a senior, they'll play next year. But how do you handle that situation? Guys, do they know can really play the game pretty well, but they're stuck behind so many good players that you got above them on their roster?
I think we stress the big picture stuff. Being in the season, we'll go to the awards board, the recognition board in the gym that every school has, and I can point to 2007 or 2008 or 2019, one of the years we went to state, and I'll ask the boys. I say, who was all conference? Who was the conference player of the year? Who led them in scoring? You don't see any of that up there, but you do know that the 2019 team played at the Kohl Center. So in 20 years, when people look at that board, what do you want them to know about you? Because they're either going to know nothing or they're going to know that as a group, you did something special for the school. So we try to stress that, but you're right. We have 30-some boys out for basketball, only 2 juniors out. So those freshman, sophomore, senior classes are big. But to get them to stay out, they have to buy into that it's not about anything individual. It's better to be the 8th man on a state caliber team than it is to start and score 20 points on a team that wins 5 or 6 games. And I think for the most part, they've bought in. And there's 5 spots in basketball. I love football. I love the other sports, but Coach Gorst does a really good job with our football program. There's 11 defense, 11 offense, special teams. There's a kicker, there's a punter. You can get 25, 26 young men to have a role and to buy in. Whereas in basketball, as a coach, I think it's tough because 5 guys are out there. They play offense, they play defense. The 11th person on a football team is a starter. The 11th person on a basketball program is playing some JV. And that's sometimes hard, I think, for young men to accept. And we've tried to get them to see a big picture when it comes to that stuff.
Let's bring in Larry Hazer for some questions and comments. Larry?
I noticed your team, not a lot of height this year. And you played a team in Neillsville here recently that does have a lot of height. What kind of things does that pose for you as a coach to
I
go
think
against this team?
Neillsville's games are always good for us, and they have been for years because you're playing a team that's got some athletes, and I think Coach Geyer's done a really good job since he's gotten there of really establishing kind of we're going to play hard all the time, and we're going to adjust our game plan based on who we're playing. We scouted them 4 or 5 games, and they didn't do a lot of the things we saw on film, but they did some things that beat us last year. So the film that helped us that game was when they beat us last year, we broke down that film and we knew, okay, this worked for them last year. The 3-2 where the kid comes out high, and we struggled against it. So that game was very good for us from just having to adjust standpoint. And they do have some big kids. The Hayes kid's really hard to box out. The Hazer boy is a really good athlete that attacks the glass hard. So to compete, you have to hold a team like that to one shot. Otherwise, they'll beat you. And I think for the most part, we did that. It was physical. We boxed out well. Kids like Cy and Lucas and even the guards, Blake and Mac, did a really good job of getting some bodies on people. And either that or you're not going to win. So it was a good game for us for sure.
Clarabelle Conference, I know everybody's saying it's Columbus Catholic's conference to win. Target on your back, does that put any pressure on your players at all, or do they not even look at that kind of thing?
I think we try not to talk about it. It sounds cliche, but let's see how good we can be today and stack enough days together and see where it falls at the end. We know there's some good teams in our league, the Neillsvilles, the Colbys, the Owen Withys. Loyal, I think, is got a really good sophomore class that's going to continue to develop with Coach DeSmet. So anybody can beat you if you don't come to play, and it's going to be important that without Emmett, especially this first part of the season, that we take a possession by possession mentality. The thing about not having him is I think it's forcing some other guys to do things that they wouldn't have to do otherwise as far as creating shots for other people. Kids like Blake and Charlie, are going to have to create more and get in gaps more. And Mac's going to have to get in gaps more. We relied on Emmett a lot to be the creator. And I think against Auburndale, against Neilsville, against Spencer, those guys are trying to do those things where if we can get him back, now maybe we're better as a group collectively doing some things that we weren't having to do before. So I think that's the goal, is just to see how good we can be the next few weeks and hopefully get him back and then be full strength at playoff time.
I know you said, we had a veteran team like this, and you kind of touched on a little bit about what you're going to have to do. Is there some things you have to get better at as the season goes on? You look at your team, and it's a good team. I mean,
it is a good team, but I think the tendency sometimes is to do what you have to win. So we're trying hard to we're not about whether or not we won on the scoreboard. Like, how well did we play? Did we build good habits? When you're up by 25, can you treat that possession the same as you're going to have to treat it when it's a tie game with 30 seconds left? And if we don't do that, then we're building poor habits, and it's going to cost us against a good team. So I think for the most part they've bought in, but there's been some situations where now you have a lead and you relax on a possession and a kid hits an open three. And why wasn't the desperation or the intensity the same as it's going to need to be with 30 seconds left in a tie game? If we can do that, I think we have a good chance to have a really good season. But if we get complacent and human nature kind of tells you to do what you have to versus what you're capable of, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
I don't know if you do this, if you look back on teams over the years, but how does this team stack up with some of the teams you've had over the years?
I think it's incredibly balanced. They're all different, but our guards with Blake and Charlie and Emmett coming back are probably as good as a set of three as we've had. We had Furlinger and Hunter Schultz. Those guys were very good. Molliver was right behind them. Reminds me a little bit of those three. But from an athleticism and depth standpoint, I think it's maybe as good as any team we've had. Now, a lot of it's where you get placed in the playoffs and what other people have too. And we're in a really tough bracket, so I don't know what the end result's going to be, but I'm hopeful that, in 20 years they can look back and say this was a lot of fun and we did some pretty cool things. So,
Coach, big loss for you this year in that Eric Wilson is no longer on the bench next to you because he took the girls' job. How about your coaching staff for this year?
Yeah, he was a huge loss. He was with us for 5 or 6 years, and he did a lot. That was a situation where, as the athletic director of the school, you were very happy for the girls' program. But as the boys' basketball coach, you were kind of ticked off about it, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying anything bad, but he was tremendous. We're very fortunate that we have 4 assistant coaches at the high school level that do a great job. Jared Fleischman played for us 2014, had a nice career at Viterbo. He's back in the area, and he's a varsity assistant for us. Ryan Deringer was on the 2017 team that made it to the Cole Center. He's our JV coach. And Isaac Dahlke played against us at Northland Lutheran. He's a Phi teacher at the school. Does a really good job with C-team and film and a lot of little things that our program needs. And then Brian DeVries came back. I was gone for a week with my family in the car accident. Emmett was in the hospital. So, during that time, Brian, I need you to come back. And he's been great. So those guys, especially the last week and a half, I've missed a lot of practice. They've run the practices. They're in constant communication. They've been unbelievable as a staff. And then another thing I'm excited about is we got Jared Mandel teaching at Columbus now. He was on the 2019 team. He's kind of taken over our middle school program. So him and Charles Payant, Will Boyer, 2 other former players, they're doing the 7th and 8th grade. We have some pretty good numbers at those groups, with like 13 8th graders and 11 7th graders. And all the way down 6th, 5th, 4th, they've really kind of taken on the youth part of it. And that's a great asset to have too. So all those people I'm very, very appreciative of.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming by, and good luck this season.
Thank you. And if I could just say something, I know you talked to a lot of coaches tonight, but my son was in a car accident, and people know that. And I think just about every program that was here tonight reached out with a card or with a 50-50 raffle or with prayers, and that was the biggest thing. And we use the word rivals a lot, and I hate that word because I don't know that we really have rivals in high school sports, but all those programs have been like tremendous friends to my family. And I can't say enough about the basketball community in central Wisconsin that really helped us through a difficult time. So I ask for continued prayers, and I just want to thank everybody out there for their compassion and their care and their genuine concern for my family. We are most appreciative.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it, and good luck this year.
Thank you.